Hi everyone, welcome to week 4. So we're almost halfway through the term already. So this week is actually one of my favorite weeks because we get into ecology finally. We've done the plant and animal adaptations and learned about them and climate change and all that. So now we actually get to delve into ecology, starting with population ecology. So let's take a look at our learning module, module 4 this week. So in Module 4, as I mentioned before, we're going to focus in on populations. So populations being groups of individuals of the same species living in the same area at the same time. So you will be learning more about what affects populations as far as, what's affecting their growth, how populations respond to events and things like that. So, there's a lot of stuff that we're going to be looking at. And even, things like access to resources that can lead to something called intra-specific population regulation. So intra means within specific species. So within this species, how they're competing with each other for resources. And some of the, outside things that are causing a population to maybe decline. So we'll be taking a look at that this week. So let's start looking at that module introduction. So by the end of this week, you will be have used the scientific method to conceive and conduct a short practical field project. So that's related to our milestone 2. Prepare a short scientific paper on quantitative and geographic analysis. Again, that's related to our milestone 2 project. Describe how birth and death rates affect population change. Discuss why understanding reproductive effort and life history strategies requires mention of trade-offs. So those we'll learn in our textbook readings this week. And then finally, discuss efforts to control or eradicate invasive species. So this kind of involves our discussion post for the week. So as far as the population overview, it's going to, talk a little bit more about Module 2, the final project, because we're going to be getting into Milestone 2 this week. So I'll talk a little bit about that later on. But let's actually move into the required resources for this week. So you will be reading chapters 8 and 10 from your textbook. So just 2 chapters this week. So a 10-point quiz, 5 points for chapter 8, 5 points for chapter 10. So, you don't necessarily have to pay very, very close attention to the specific analysis that is being conducted within those chapters, like, the different models and things like that. So you're mainly just kind of, get an overview of what it affects populations and, what restricts their growth and things like that. We'll also take a look at an article. So this CBS article actually has writing and a video that goes with it. So, this will give you an example of an invasive species that's kind of, wreaking havoc. So read the article and then watch. I think there's a video. Where'd the video go? I guess there is no video. All right. Yeah, there used to be a video, but I guess they stopped linking it. Oh, probably because it's an older story. But anyway, so you can read this article. Goes into the, what is it called? The Asian carp, and how that Asian carp is just destroying basically the biodiversity in the Mississippi River Basin and the Great Lakes. Okay, so this will give you kind of a background of how destructive invasive species are on a natural habitat. The other resource I would say you don't necessarily need, because this is just the same Odea et al. Article that you used to help you construct the methods section of Milestone 1. So you don't necessarily need this thing this week, because you're not really referring to it. So you can ignore that, but definitely read the textbook and read that article. All right, so your discussion post this week, actually, again, it's my favorite discussion post. And the main reason why I like it so much is because you are doing your own research and you're actually learning more about your own area. Okay, so you're focusing in on your area that you're living in, and you're going to pick an invasive species and learn more about it and things like that. So if you are unfamiliar with invasive species that are in your area, you can go to this website. It's called invasive.org. So www.invasive.org. And here you can kind of see different species that are considered invasive, and you can actually locate species that are closer to your area. So they have like maps and things like that. Okay, so this will give you a good idea once you find some information. So this could be a useful resource. Also, if you go to your state, usually it's the Fish and Game or the Fish and Wildlife Service website for your state, you can also get some more information about that particular invasive species. And you'll notice that invasive species, they don't just have to be animals. I mean, we have plants, we have pathogens, okay, things like that. So, you can choose what is most interesting to you and write about it. But, do make sure that it's in your area, since you can kind of apply it to your everyday life. Okay. So once you've done some research on your particular species, you'll want to describe it. So, sometimes people include a picture of their species as well. It's not required, but, kind of gives the reader something to look at. But you'll definitely need, for full credit, be able to describe where it came from. Okay, so where did it originate from? Now that it's an invasive species. Is it spreading? Does it impact native species? So think about, was it accidentally introduced? Was it intentionally introduced? Where was it introduced from? Is it spreading? And then how does it impact the native species? Okay. And then the rest of it is more opinion based, but it does need to be based on some research. So you need to look up some information about your invasive species and describe what types of current programs are in place to eradicate or eliminate or control your invasive species. So, you might see active efforts such as, physically removing the species, or controlling it, or things like that. Or sometimes you don't see much effort. And so once you kind of describe the effort that is preventing its spread, hopefully, or controlling it, you'll need to give your opinion about, how you feel about those efforts. Do you think they're working? Are they going far enough? Is your state just kind of dropping the ball and letting things go without giving much effort to controlling it, things like that. And then the second part of your opinion involves what strategies do you think might work. So these could be different from what the efforts that are currently in place are going to. So you might think of new strategies, or based on the efforts that you've researched, which ones do you think are going to work and which ones you don't think will work. Okay. So there's, a lot of research in this this initial post, plus incorporating your own opinion. Okay. So this post is due by Thursday midnight, just like always. And then, of course, since you're conducting your own research, make sure you do include those full references at the end of your initial post, and include in-text citations on any information that you're taking from those sources. Okay, so you got to give credit to the source, because I'm assuming you didn't have that information in your brain before you looked it up. Okay, so do make sure you do that. And then once you are done and ready to post, I highly suggest that in the subject line for your topic, you go ahead and put the invasive species in that subject line, just because it makes it a little bit more interesting. So, if I wanted to read about interesting animal species, I can kind of look at the list and see which ones are animals versus plants and things like that. Okay, so again, this is something that once you've posted it, you'll need to return and find two students' initial posts and that you want to learn more about and have not already received 2 responses from other students. If they receive a response from me, you don't have to count that. And then respond to their post. Okay, so that's due by Sunday midnight. And again, with your response post, I highly suggest that you do additional research if you want full credit. Particularly what I tend to see, or my suggestion would be, is to, if you find a post about an invasive species, perhaps look it up and see if it's found in your area. And then you can do some research in your local area about, efforts to control or, eliminate that particular species. So that way, there might be different strategies that your state is doing or your local area is doing that the student that posted the initial post, their state's not doing. So this gives some additional information that will add on to their initial post. Okay, so that's my suggestion of how you can write a really good response post. Okay. And then we get into our quiz. So this is based on chapters 8 and 10. So it's a 10-point quiz, five questions from chapter 8, 5 questions from chapter 10. Just like always, if you don't get 100% the first try, try again. Okay, so you get two attempts, and then feel free to have your textbook available while you're taking the quiz, so that you can kind of really connect the content of the textbook to your understanding of the information. And then the last thing is this Milestone 2 project. So Milestone 2, in Milestone 1, we wrote the title, introduction, and method section of our project. And so the remainder of our project is the results section, the discussion section, and the literature cited or reference section. And so in the results section, which we'll be writing the results section in Milestone 3 in a couple weeks, that is going to include all of the analyses from the data sets that we gathered. Now, we've already provided 2 analyses for you. So we provided the pie charts for the vegetation data, and we provided the diversity indices for the point count data. So that leaves our McKinnon data. So the McKinnon data, we didn't analyze for you. So you're going to analyze it with Excel, and you're going to be creating a graph. Okay, so that graph is going to have these species accumulation curves. So it's basically a line for each of the sites on the same graph, and so you can see, are the species increasing, decreasing, whatever, are they leveling out, things like that once you've completed the analysis. Now, I have a separate video that goes into detail about how to analyze the data, because this instruction sheet's kind of confusing. So I highly suggest you look at my Milestone 2 tips, which includes that video. And then while you're watching the video, have the Excel spreadsheet, this bird data spreadsheet up on your screen while you're watching the video, and see if you can actually follow along with your Excel sheet at exactly what I'm doing, so that you kind of get that process down. And then after you get the hang of it, will take a while. It's just tedious work, but it's not difficult work. Okay, so it's not like Milestone 1 that took a lot of effort trying to figure out what this whole thing was about. And then so once you've created your graph, you can submit it just as an Excel spreadsheet. That's fine. Or you can copy and paste it into a Word document or a PDF and submit it like that. So however you want to do it is fine. Okay. And then that's it. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to your discussion post.